Right, so AI. AI is absolutely everywhere. It seems that wherever you go in the media, both the mainstream and the technical press, we hear about AI. And there are some people that think that AI is just a passing fad. Other people think that it's going to change humanity and maybe even bring calamity to humanity. And the chances are it's going to be somewhere in between. And it reminds me a little bit about a business convention I went to back in about 2006. And I was having my lunch, and on the table, at the other end of the table, there were two ladies. And it turns out these two ladies were independently high street travel agents. And of course, in 2006, the internet was becoming mainstream. And one of the first industries to be affected by the internet were the high street travel agents. And these two ladies were saying how bad it was and how terrible it was. And it turned out that their best hope for their businesses back in 2006 was to hope that this internet thing would go away. And it seems that the best hope for a lot of businesses today in 2024 is to hope that this AI thing is going to go away. And I firmly believe that if we go forward about 10 years and we look back, that there will be two types of business, broadly speaking. There will be those that have embraced AI to some extent, and there will be those that have fallen by the wayside. And it's up to us as developers and as programmers to influence our employers and the businesses that we run by including AI where it can be done. And what I hope to do today is to show you some really easy ways that you can do some of the heavy lifting for your users and enhance the product that you are involved in. A little bit about me. My name's Ian Boddison, Pearl Monks at CPAN Bod. I am co-founder and technical director of a company called On Radar. And essentially what we do is we use AI at the core of our business to connect UK charities with sources of money, grant makers. And we use AI to match those two together. So there's a lot of money available to charities in the UK. But a lot of it doesn't get particularly to the smallest charities because they either think that it's going to be too difficult to apply for it, there's sometimes some truth in that, or they're not eligible. Now, in developing the platform, as you might imagine, it's written entirely in Perl. As you might imagine, we have created a number of modules, some of which are of general use, so we publish them on CPAN. And there's three that I'm going to mention today in the AI space. There's AI image. I think you can probably guess what that does. You throw a prompt at it, it gives you a PNG image back, always square. There's AI embedding, which is what's at the core of our platform. And essentially, embedding, you give it a string, anything from a couple of words up to a huge document, and it converts that into a long series of floats, effectively an array. We actually store that array in a text field because we don't want to get at the individual parts. We want to use it homogeneously. And what that array represents is the meaning of the text. It doesn't use keywords, it's all about semantics. And within that, there is a comparator which allows you to make comparisons and therefore see how similar meanings they are. But the one that I want to talk most about today is AI chat. Now, AI chat has just three methods within it. The first one is new, so you can create the object. The only thing you've got to give it is a key, and I'll mention that towards the end of the talk. And then there is prompt and chat. I'm going to make the assumption that you have used ChatGPT or a similar AI platform on the web. And you'll know that broadly speaking, there are two ways you can use it. You can ask it something and it comes back with something. So an example, I'm a Perl programmer looking for a new job. Here's my CV. Can you please write me a covering letter? And it will come back with a covering letter, end of transaction. The alternative way is more of a backward-forward conversation. I'm a Perl programmer. Here's my CV. How can you help me with that? And what extra information do you need? And it will come back with various things that it can help with. And you might say, well, let's discuss more about number 4. And you have a back-forward conversation. Those two methodologies of using AI are equivalent to the prompt, which you throw something at it and it gives you something back, or the chat, where you have a back-forward chat. So let's have a look at some examples as how we can use this with our existing systems. So I'm not talking today about using AI to write code. I don't think it's particularly good at that. It does work in code, but it's not particularly maintainable. We do use it a little bit for debugging code. If we've got code we can't quite find where it is, it can identify which bit to look at. And I'm not even talking about what we've done, which is to build a system around AI. I'm talking about your existing systems making life easier for your users. So this will be familiar to you. This is effectively a bio. Many applications have them. Because our customers are UK charities, we call it About. Now, the people who run charities tend to be very high in enthusiasm, but low in time, and typically low in technical skills. So when they see a box that they've got to fill in, they think, yes, that's important, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, oh, I'll think about that, and I'll do it tomorrow. So that's quite a challenge for them. So I thought, well, how can we help? So what we did is we added a button. Fetch, nothing to do with dogs, that comes later. And what that does is it pulls from the website. Now, we already have their website because when they create their account, we pull that information down from the Charity Commission. They can edit this because it could be out of date, but we pull that down. When they press the fetch button, it uses Modulicious DOM, and we use that because it's very good at stripping out all the HTML tags to get their website. But of course, their website is going to have copyright notices, contact information. It's going to have all the navigation in it. So we feed it to the AI, to the prompt method, and ask it to tidy it up. And we get something which is something like that. So what does that look like in the back end? So here's the code that does that. You'll see we use the new, we pass it a key, we pass it an optional role, and what this does is this just primes the AI to tell it what it's going to do. Not necessary, but it can help. We give it some temperature. Effectively, all this is it's the creativity. It tells us how creative we want it to be. If you make this close to 0, it'll be very matter-of-fact and dull. The higher you take it, the more verbose and creative it will be. We then use the chat prompt method, and we say the following text is taken from a web page. Can you please provide a complete, thorough summary, omitting any text that might be hidden when the page is rendered? Anything that looks like contact information could be a menu or other type of navigation. Because we're in the UK, we have to tell it to use UK English and UK spellings. And then we just append what we pulled down from the website. And that, we just feed back and we get the bio. So instead of something really difficult for our users, we've suddenly made it really easy. Now, is it perfect? No, of course it's not. But at least they've got something to work with. They can now edit this. So where it was a big challenge to fill in this, we've done the heavy work for them. Let's look at another example, completely different example. My partner, Jules, she runs a Pauses dog care business. I have a great life because we've got dogs around the house all the time. And those are the two that I've left back in Coventry, where I've come from. And we have to be licensed to do this. And part of the requirement of the license is that we keep a record every day of what's happened with the dog that's in our care. So things like they've eaten normally, they've been out for a good walk, or they were lethargic, or whatever. So every evening, Jules fills in a little report, a few tick boxes, sort of half a paragraph or so. And you can imagine that mostly when dogs come to us, it's because their owners are going on holiday. And most people only go on holiday once, maybe twice a year. So it can be quite a long time between when we see one dog and when we see the same dog again, by which time we've forgotten about some of its behaviours. So I thought, what can we do? So this is the back end of our system, again written in Perl. We already have all this information, but again, we said, right, we'll add a button up here. And when we press this, it uses the same method, the AI chat prompt method, and it goes through all these reports that we have, plus all the questions that we asked when we first met the owners, because we have a meet and greet whereby we ask them a number of questions and we make sure the dogs get on and such things. And we feed it all that information and ask it to make us a summary. So what it will do is it will come along and say Bailey has 28 reports. So Bailey stayed with us on 28 days before this, and it just gives us some information about Bailey. Now again, is it absolutely perfect? No, but it does a lot of the heavy lifting. We would have to have trawled through all those reports, and we still can trawl through all those reports if we want to. If this flags up something or other that we want to be able to dig deeper into, we can go and look at the reports. But it's making life easier. Now you'll remember that there were two methods. There was the prompt method, which we've used here, and the chat method. So let's have a look at the chat method. I said that we match charities to grant funding. Well, this is what it looks like. We call it Grant Genie. And what a charity has to do is it needs to fill in a little bit about where something's going to be delivered. And then we ask them to fill in between 80 and 500 words. We use that length because we find that works really well with the embedding module. That's a really optimum sort of length. Now, if it was going to be difficult for them to fill in the bio, filling in 80 to 500 words is going to be impossible. And we found a lot of people were struggling with this. So we thought, what can we do? Again, we added a button, AI Project Help. Now, in this case, what happens is we ask them a few questions. So first of all, we say, this is what we have about you. So this is their bio, their about section. Is this correct? And we say yes. We then ask them three simple questions. The first one is, tell me a little bit about the project. And now instead of being that great big box, it's just one line. We're only asking for a few words here. It then goes on to ask them, who's going to benefit from the project and how long is it going to last for? We then send all of that to the AI, so the bio, the information they've given here, so we know something about the actual charity as well. And the prompt this time looks a bit different. We ask it, well, we tell it first of all that what it's going to do, it's going to create a project plan. We give it all of this information, and then we say to it, if you need any more information, ask a question. Or if you're ready to do the project plan, say, I'm ready on a single line. So it can come back with a question, which we then feed back to the user and ask the user, and it can ask another one. The I'm ready presented us a bit of a challenge. Because what we didn't realise, first of all, is how much variation there is in saying, I'm ready. Sometimes the AI would put it in quotes. Sometimes it would miss the apostrophe out. Sometimes it would include it. So we had to use a bit of a regular expression in order to actually get that. Bit of a learning curve. We have to change these prompts and work on them a bit. But it comes up with a project plan, having asked a few questions. Now, the big difference between the chat method on the API and if you're using it on the web interface of ChatGPT is that with ChatGPT, it will remember all of the conversation that you had. With the chat method, you are, as the programmer, are responsible for feeding all that information back in each time. Now, we tried to document that quite well. So if you look on CPAN at the documentation, there are plenty of examples of how to do that. But when they have filled in these, they get, again, a project plan. And obviously it's a bit longer than that because it's between 80 and 500 words. Typically, it brings back around about 400 words. We tell it it's got to be within that size there. So I'm really hopeful that that's giving you some inspiration as to how you can use some AI to do some of the heavy lifting for your users. Because in all three examples that we've looked at, the bio was already there. They could already fill in their bio by manually typing in it, and they still can. They don't have to use the AI. The other option, whereby we have the summary of the dog information, we could have gone back over all of the information and dig through that. We can still do that, but the AI just makes it easier. With the grant application and describing the project, the users could still go in and type in their 50 to 500, 80 to 500 words. And they still can do that, but the AI just makes it easier. And indeed, what we're now doing is we're going through our platform and looking for anywhere where there is a box. Because a box means that the users have got to put effort into it and seeing if we can use AI. So if that has inspired you at all, the next steps. Well, the first thing is to create an OpenAI account. In a minute, I'm going to share a link with you, which has got the resources and the links to be able to do this. Once you've got your OpenAI account, you need to get an API key. Now, the API key is free, but to use it, you do need to put some credit on it. Now, we've recently changed the model in the background that we use. We've changed from GPT 3.5 Turbo to 4.0 Mini. 4.0 Mini seems to be a lot better. It's a bit difficult to tell because it's AI and it's non-deterministic, but it's certainly cheaper. Our usage is going up and our costs are coming down. The minimum you can put on there is $5, that's £3-ish, and it will last you forever. It's just testing this. If you just want to play around with it and see if you can see how it works for you, I would certainly suggest you put that $5 on there because you won't go through it particularly quickly. The next thing then to do is to install AI Chat. As I say, it's available on CPAM. About a month ago, we did a new release, so it defaults to 4.0 Mini because we find that's the best one. You can use whichever model you want, and then start making things easier for your users, because it doesn't take a lot of effort if you've got these existing systems to be able to do that extra bit there. So some resources for you. If you go to this website, boddison.com/Perl Talk, the QR code takes you to the same place. My email address is on there. I would love to hear if this has inspired you to add some things to your own systems and to your own platforms. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. That's also connected there. And there's also links to all of the resources, so like the OpenAI key and to the modules themselves. And also, we love it on Radar showing people around and showing around our platform. So you can book a free demo. The demos last for about half an hour. We understand you're probably not going to be our customers, but we do love showing things around. Adam, our managing director, who does the demos, is expecting a few people to book on. If you do that, when you have the demo with him, just say I'm interested in the AI bits, and he will major on those, because we take it to one-to-one demo. We major on those. But I sincerely hope that that has inspired you to take AI to the next step and to use it within your systems. I think we've got a couple of minutes for questions. Have anybody got any questions? Yeah. There is an issue with that. Yes, certainly we would not feed any information in which was our intellectual property that we wanted to keep within the business. The data we send is data in the public domain, in which to help our users. We haven't yet, although we're looking into whether our users could potentially put their IP into it, and if they were to, then we would we will start putting warnings on there. But yes, it is a valid point.
Specifically dealing with GDPR, where personal data is fed to ChatGPT.
Yeah, we don't feed any identifying data to there. And the information that we pull from the Charity Commission is in the public domain anyway, from that point of view. But it is a very valid concern, yes.
Are you uploading all the dog records
Yes.
to let the system do the selection? You probably got thousands of records.
We're only doing them, we're filtering them for that particular dog.
So you do a query to reduce it to that particular dog.
Correct.
Then you upload, let's say, 64 or 25 text snippets to let the system.
Yes, so there's two pieces of information with the dogs. When a dog first comes to us, we have a meeting with the owners, and we ask them a series of questions, and we record that. So first of all, we tell the AI what we wanted to do. We wanted to summarise information about dogs, and then we feed in all of the initial questions, and then we feed in, as all as part of the same prompt, we say the following are records from when they previously stayed with us. Please summarise them, paying more attention to the most recent ones. So we also put a date on them first. You do always need to play around with these prompts. This is a case in point actually with the dog one, because it's only my partner Jules and myself that do it. And the AI was saying about the staff will have to take care. And Jules was getting a little bit irked by the fact that she was being called the staff. And the AI also spent quite a lot of time talking about the toileting habits of the dogs. So we had to adjust the prompts just to say we don't need to know about that unless it's really unusual. Yes. No, we haven't. We have talked about it, but we haven't gone down that route yet. I certainly know of other people that have used custom GPTs and are having quite a lot of success with that. But the main reason for doing so is not because of the privacy, it's because of being able to train them on their own data sets. Any other questions?
At the business, as far as the charities, are you putting a custom output for each source of funding, or is there a standard format?
So there's a standard format. What happens is that we take information, we basically copy and paste the relevant bits off their website. And then what we do is we ask ChatGPT to encode that or to reformat that in a way that is perfect for embedding. And then we throw it at the embedding engine so that we get that long string of numbers. That's the process behind that.
And the funds also use your website to select the most interesting grant application?
The charities use it to find, yeah. So what it does is once they've been through that process, they put that in and it gives them almost like a Google result. So it says search results.
So you have two types of users.
No, we only have charities as our users. The grants don't come to the grant makers don't come to us and find charities to give the money to.
They don't come to you.
No, they sometimes come to us and tell us we've got this grant funding, but then they just give us some text about it.
I thought it would be natural that those people seeking grants and those people providing grants would meet on the same platform.
Getting people who make grants to use a platform is quite tricky. They tend to be quite generally they tend to be quite tech low. A lot of them want paper forms in their own particular format, and a few of them are now coming to us and saying we've got this grant that we're about to make live. Would you like to list it? To which we definitely say yes.
Yeah, but you could take away a lot of their work and also make training audit because they did not make the selection themselves. They have some kind of official recommendation to present.
Absolutely, it's on our development plan, and our long-term aim is actually to be the standard funnel for grant makers. If we could have them all in a standard way, we'd be able to populate the forms for the charities and make it even easier for them. So that's sort of for the future. No more questions? Thank you very much.